Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of PEPTalk, Productive Environment Podcast, where we explore practical strategies to help you organize your time, space, and information so you can accomplish your work and enjoy your life. I am Andrea Anderson, CEO of Productive Environment Institute, and I'm joined by...
I'm Barbara Hemphill, founder of Productive Environment Institute. Welcome. We're so glad you're here today.
Today, we are going to talk to you about a powerful truth that could change everything for you. So as you can see, the title of today's pep talk, Overwhelm isn't a time problem, it's a system problem. So let's discuss. If you have ever felt like you're just working hard, but you're still spinning your wheels, then this episode will show you what to do about it. So let's take that slide off our screen and come on and just have a chat with you. So, Barbara, one of the big things that we hear from people a lot, and I want you guys that are watching and listening, no matter where you're watching from, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you are, have you ever just said, I don't have enough time? I am overwhelmed because I don't have enough time to get everything done. How often do we hear that? How often do we say that? Sometimes we do as well. So, and Barbara, one of the things we've discussed in the past is the concept of time management. Like, that's an acceptable problem to have. It's an acceptable challenge. Like, I don't have enough time. That must mean I'm really important because I'm really busy and have so much to do, right? Yeah. And so people are more likely to say that than they are to say, I have too much clutter. Or I have too much email.
Yeah, that's really true. That's absolutely true. And I think I've become so sensitized to the word busy. Mm-hmm. When somebody says they're busy, mm-hmm. I want to help, but I immediately want to know, what are they busy about? In fact, look at this sign.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing a productive environment day in a company, and the founder of the company had this on his desk.
Oh, that's where that came from. Okay.
And so when we did the productivity party and we had a trash to treasure, he put this in the trash to treasure. And I said, I'm taking this home. And that's how I ended up with it.
Oh, that is great. That's great.
Busy is a word that is in a way acceptable, but I think that's, and relationships are everything. And when somebody says that, I've tried to use that now as a way to have a deeper conversation. Like, oh, what are you doing that's really important now, or something? Just ask.
Tell me more. Say, tell me more, right?
Yeah,
that's the key. Tell me more. Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that we have found that, I know for myself personally, when I start to feel overwhelmed, oops, I just lost my little screen here. Hold on. Thank you. So when I start feeling overwhelmed, if I look around my space, there may be too many open, it's kind of like your computer, too many open tabs. So there may be too many open loops. If you're working on multiple things at one time, I mean, that's a whole nother myth, the myth of multitasking, right? That used to be another sign of, oh, I'm so good, you should hire me because I'm a great multitasker. But in the world of productivity, that's kind of been proven wrong, because you can't really focus on the one thing that you really want to complete if you're jumping back and forth between multiple things. So, when tasks, ideas, and information are scattered across sticky notes, Barbara, I think for you, you don't do a whole lot of this unless you're like in the midst of working on a project, but index cards. So
yeah, I do index cards. Yeah, I don't do sticky notes, but I do index cards. And sometimes my desk does get overwhelmed with index cards because I'll have lots of ideas and then I'll have to come back. And I was thinking about Ned Hallowell, that has spoken at our retreat before, the road driven to distraction. He talks about the brain. You literally cannot multitask. You're really jumping from task to task.
That's right. That's right. One of the quotes that resonated with me that he said was refuse to rush. So RTR, refuse to rush. Because when we're rushing through and we're trying to get too many things done, that's when we start feeling scattered. So if we do have information scattered across sticky notes, index cards, notebooks, emails, random apps, then you'll always feel behind if that's the case. My team and our community, they know that I'm really big on a single notebook. Okay. So a single notebook. I've been in clients' offices and seen them on Zoom as well, where they have multiple notebooks for different topics, and that has never really worked. I mean, if that works for you guys, whoever's watching, that may, let us know if that works for you. But it's never worked for me to have things in multiple places. So,
well, Andrea, let me. Here's an example. We call each other peanut butter and jelly, and I think one of the reasons we work too well is because we do things differently, but we honor the same principles. So I tried your one notebook thing, but the problem is 90% of what I write, I really don't want to keep. Part of the reason I use recycled pieces of paper.
Yeah, that would never work.
And so on a call, I will do this, but then at the end of the call, I take what's from here and put that either into a notebook or onto my sourboard. And so it's like, because I felt overwhelmed by all of the notes in my notebook that I couldn't process the notebook because there was too much clutter in it. So it's like, here's where I capture everything. When our call is over today, there'll be maybe 2-3 sentences at the most, or ideas that then I'll say, what's the next action? I will take that and put it either in the notebook or on my sourboard.
That's because you do take that next step right then and there. So that's the key. If you didn't, then those would just pile up and pile up and pile up.
Which is like the clients through the years that I literally have stacks of yellow pads this high with things they were afraid to throw away because it was all their to-dos.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, for those of you that are a little techie and you have an iPad, which I know, Barbara, you do, I have been playing around with GoodNotes. And I got there's a thing you can get on your iPad that makes it feel like paper, like you're writing on paper. And I have the little Apple Pen, which actually this isn't the real Apple Pen. It's a generic Apple Pen, so it was cheaper. But I've been now, because the only problem, Barbara, with my one notebook, which I love, I still love it, it's still here, is that then it's not searchable, right? We're all about having a finding system, and the notebook, a physical notebook, isn't searchable. It's helpful to me to write it down, but it's not searchable. So the step that you take, you add it into your sourboard quickly, then it becomes searchable. So what I'm playing around with is GoodNotes, to be able just to take my notes on my iPad instead of the notebook. They're both here just in case. And then it makes my notes searchable. So then some of it will just stay notes in here, and some of it will end up in my sourboard. And for those of you that don't know what sourboard is, it's a tool that we use to help us keep everything in one place. So SOAR means systemize, organize, action, and reference. So systemize and organize with action and reference. So in the past, let me mention this briefly. In the past, we used multiple tools. So I would have my notebook. What systemize means, is systemize the capture of information, whether it's coming to you from email or text messages or people or real mail, anything. Things are coming to you. And I tried to capture everything in my notebook, right? So systemize the capture of information. And then you sort things out. You organize that information. Is it an action, something I need to do? In that case, it goes on your calendar. Or if you have a task management system, it would go into a task management system, right? Okay. Or is it a reference, something to save for future reference? What happened when we started doing our boot camps, our office transformation boot camp and our digital transformation boot camp, it became clear everybody had different tools. Everybody had different systems, multiple tools, multiple systems, and trying to rein them in. I initially started because I was using Google. I said, okay, everybody, I'm going to teach you how to use Google Keep for your notes. We're going to talk about your Gmail. And there were the other Google world, the Google environment. But then there were people on our boot camps that were in the Apple environment and other environments. And so I said, okay. And even still, all of those tools were separate. Your email, people often say, I need help with my email and I need help with my tasks. They're actually related. They should be together.
But let me enter something in here that takes it up one thing, which is based on the 4 words that PEI has been based on is clutter is postponed decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So both of those things require decision making.
Right.
And so whenever we're working with clients, we are giving them tools and we're giving them a system, but through the thing that runs all the way through the training is becoming a good decision maker. Because when somebody reaches out to us to get help, they'll say, how long is this going to take and how much is it going to cost? Those are the questions that everybody has, right? We all have that when we talk to somebody. And so the answer is, we don't know, because we don't know specifically what you need. And the one thing we don't know is how quickly you make decisions. And part of the reason, and Andrea, you get credit for this years ago, when we first started working, you said, Barbara, it's not enough to make a decision. You have to have a way to implement the decision you make, which is like, okay, so then we talked about that. And then we've talked about half of any job is having the right tool and using the right tool. And that's, so we're putting all those things together to create a system that can be customized, because we've said many times that we get David Allen dropouts, we get Marie Kondo dropouts. Both of their systems absolutely work if you work them, but there's not a lot of room for flexibility, and there's enormous room for flexibility in what we do. In fact, years ago, we started to franchise the company and then decided no, because franchise means cookie cutter. And that is the antithesis of what we are about. Because when people say, what should I do? We always answer with, that's the wrong question. The question is, what will you do?
Exactly. So let's go back to the concept of information coming into you from different places, and it's not, there's no central location for it to go. So you just end up with stuff on your desk piled up, or in your email, the same thing. So it's not because you're lazy, it's not because you're undisciplined or that you're bad at time management. It's because the system that you're relying on, if there is one, the system you're relying on is broken. So it's either broken or it's just missing in general. So if your brain is working harder than your tools, you're going to burn out. So that's where a lot of the overwhelm comes from. Okay. So imagine trying to manage 17 inboxes all at once, right? But that's really what we're doing. It sounds crazy, but that's what we're doing when we're, have things coming in physically and digitally, and they're all in different places. Just different tools and so forth. So you feel scattered and disconnected. So that was our goal, was to kind of pull things together into one place. So like I said, most of you on here, I feel like all of you that are listening to this have an email account, right? You have at least one email account, maybe more, and then that can scatter you even more. But you've got email, you've got some kind of task management tool, even if it's not digital. Some of you, maybe your task management tool is writing down a to-do list and then losing that list, and then writing another list and another list and another list and another list. So whatever you're doing, that's, if you're still feeling majorly overwhelmed, that's probably not helping. Just more lists is not going to help. And then there may be other tools. Now we teach the productive environment finding system, right? That's Barbara's 46 plus years of teaching people how to find anything in their files in seconds. Okay. So we teach a system with that. And there's a tool that we use for that. We've been using it for 12 years. So we have now taken that tool and created our own template, which is what we call the SOAR board. So when you hear us say SOAR board, it is one place to capture all of the information, all of the things you need to do, or all of the things you need to save. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. If you don't know about the SOAR board, or you look at it and you're like, I don't want to use that, that's fine. You can still try to create your own system, which you're going to need an email system. You're going to need a task management system of some sort, and then you're going to have to be the connection between them. That's what's missing, I think, for a lot of people. And then notes or papers you want to keep for future reference. They're way over in another system, right? So
partly, and I think one of the things that I've seen with clients over and over is that we're balancing balls. And so it's like, okay, I've got my inbox down to zero. You know, it's like only happens once every 3 months, but I finally got it down to zero. But while I was over here doing that, I forgot to check my Slack platform, or I forgot to check Telegram, right, or I haven't done my piling. So the paper piles are piling up. And so we don't have a way to measure one task against another, a way to prioritize what's really important, and to be making decisions all the way along. And it goes back to the very first book that I wrote in 1988, Taming the Paper Tiger, was there's only 3 decisions you can make: file, act, or toss. Well, that's true with any information that comes in, whether it comes in a voicemail that you're listening to, whether it's a text. When you get a text message, what is it? Is this something I need to file away? So for this morning, I've been having a communication with somebody about insurance. They sent me some information. Yes, that was just something I didn't need to respond or anything other than send a thumbs up that I got it. But then I needed to copy it and put it in somewhere, or I need to answer a question back. Every single bit of information that comes in, regardless of the format or the platform, requires one of 3 decisions: file, act, or toss.
That's right. And what you did, if you're using a tool that has everything in one place, the first thing you could do is decide if toss is the answer, just get rid of it. Delete it if it's email, or get rid of it if it's paper, right? And then the next one would be, do I need to file this for future reference, or do I need to act on this? And both of those things, it doesn't matter what the answer is, both of those things fit in the scoreboard. So, and we have one of the key component of the scoreboard. So I don't have a visual for you right now, but I can show you. I'll tell you how you can see it, experience it, get the template, everything. But it's 3 boxes. It's inbox, it's action, and it's reference. So everything, the very first thing we do is get it out of our head, or off the text, or out of the email, and it goes in the inbox. Okay. So once it's in the inbox, you've already decided not to toss it. You're right. It's in the inbox. Now it's either going to be an action or a reference. And then, Barbara, you were talking about the insurance stuff. If it's something just to keep, me and my brain says that's a reference. So that would go, you could just copy paste right into reference, and it's done. You keyword it. It's like insurance, and now it's searchable, findable when you need it. It's no longer hanging around in your inbox, draining your energy. I mean, that's the thing.
And then also, one of the things that I've found personally is that my inbox is, again, an opportunity to make another decision, because I'm an idea person. I mean, my husband and I joke all the time, because I'll say, I have an idea, and he'll go, oh no, because, I said, I wish I could take a pill, because it's like every conversation I have, every article I read, every TV show gives me an idea. Or driving down the road, I get tons of them. And then I put them in my inbox. Well, now is one more chance to say, what's the worst thing that would happen if I didn't do this? Because the reality, and this is the truth, that I have trouble with. If you're listening to this call, you have trouble. Otherwise you wouldn't have listened to this. And it has to do with, we think that if we just got organized, we would be able to do everything, keep everything, have everything. And that is a lie. So you can't change what you don't measure. And when you have information in 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 platforms, which is some of our clients do, it's impossible to measure, because you can't see them all at once. But if you take all of those things and put them into one place, what we're using is the scoreboard, I now can measure one against the other and say, okay, which is higher to do? And then the question we always have to say is, you say, I'm going to do this. The question we must ask ourselves, that we often are hesitant, reluctant, or don't do, is when?
When? Exactly. That's the missing question, you guys. And I don't care. There's so many systems out there. They're prioritization. We'll just put things in priority. This is hot. This is top priority. This is medium priority. This is low priority. How many of you have done that? And then they still didn't get done? This task
Well,
building.
the other thing in my life, at least, my husband and I have a thing where in the morning I write a list. He's not a technical person at all, so I literally take a piece of paper and write on. This is my This is my list for today. This is where I'm going to be home, when I'm going to be traveling, and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, he jokes and says, "Okay, what didn't you do today?" Because he knows that not everything that's on there because this appointment got canceled, or there was traffic and I was late. So you have to constantly reprioritize. And if you have all that information in multiple platforms, that's impossible. But if you put everything into one platform, you can reprioritize it. And then every day I have a list of things I'm going to do. I don't know when the last time was I got everything done that was on my list for that day, but it's not a problem, because I can say, okay, what's the worst thing that happened if I didn't do this? It's like, okay, I was going to do this, but maybe it really isn't the highest priority because of something else. Or it's like, well, I'm not ready to give it up yet, but give me 90 days. So I can move it 90 days and say, okay, in 90 days, I'll look at this again. Or could somebody else help me? Because I'm far more willing to be accountable to somebody else than I am myself. So a good example is my tax returns. The only way I would get my tax returns done is if I tell my accountant, I will have the information to you by such and such a date, and then I will. But if I didn't have that appointment, I would not get it done. And so this is a way that we can make an appointment with ourselves.
That's right. That's right. I love it. There are two key concepts there. What's the next action and when? So whether it's a one-off task, like pick up the dry cleaning, right? Do people still do dry cleaning? I don't. But
yes.
Do they? Okay. I've done that in years. But so okay, that's a one-off task. So what's the next action? Pick up the dry cleaning. When? And so then that's a whole nother strategy of like time blocking your errands and choosing a day to go do that, whatever. So it could be a one-off task, but it could also be part of a project. We were just talking earlier, Barbara, you've got a project that you're working on. And so rather than, we have a category in the scoreboard for projects, but if we just left that in projects, you probably would never look at it again. And then you're like, oh, I have these 15 projects I haven't touched. So the question is, okay, what's the next action towards that project and when? And then that gets put in the scoreboard. We have dates for you to decide when you're going to do it. That's been the missing key all along. Here, let me share what Kathy has said here. New Path Productivity, Kathy Music, and asking when is one of the most postponed decisions, right? Not asking when, really. It's like if you just say, oh, I need to do this, and then it just hangs around on your list for a really long time to do, and then it drains your energy. So that comes back to the whole energy thing again. I like Rosemary said, my definition of busy is being under Satan's yield. Yeah, because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel productive when we're overwhelmed too much to do. So basically, when you have a simple system to capture tasks, organize projects, and store reference information, you will finally get your mental energy back. Now, I watch a lot of, I like to see what other productivity people are doing out there. So I watch a lot of videos on YouTube about productivity. And there's one that I really like, a guy I really like. And he was talking about how he keeps his tasks and his projects separate. And, because he doesn't have the scoreboard. So most of these tools are separate. It's like it's either a task list or it's a project management system. And then saving things as notes and notebooks like Evernote and other tools like that, they're all separate. Now, some of the things you can kind of tweak and make them work. For example, the tool that we use a tool called Workflowy. That's the platform that we use. Now, we've put our template on top of it, which you can't just go get in Workflowy. They wouldn't even know what you were talking about. So, in fact, Eds, if you want to share that link where people can start learning a little bit, that'll lead them to information about the scoreboard. There's a tool called Notion. So high productivity people love Notion. I loved Notion, but it was too complicated. There's too many options and too many bells and whistles. So I caution you against that as well. There isn't one tool or one great best thing. But we chose Workflowy for its simplicity and its findability, its searchability, if you prefer that word. And so we've built our scoreboard template on top of that tool. And it is pretty phenomenal. So anyway, when you put everything together in one place, they're all connected. Then your tasks are connected to your projects, to your notes and things for future reference. So you're not just working, you're making real progress because you know exactly where to focus and exactly where to find what you need. So
Andrea, let me just insert in here one. I want to go back to the story you used about the person who said they had a project list and a task list. And through the years, I've had many clients like that. In fact, I think I mean, our specialty is working with clients with what they already have that works. So whatever they're doing that's work, we don't touch that. We go and say, what is your biggest frustration? And we start with the biggest frustration. But then what often happens is when they see the principles, they'll move. But what I used to do with people who would have a project list and a task list was with the project, you had to take one thing and put it on the task list.
Right.
So then the task list would take you back to the project, because if you don't have a next action for the project, to your earlier point, Andrea, you just have a project that you'll never look at. And in our finding system, we have action files. And one of the reasons we do that with paper files is there's a file for each project. And if you don't say what's the next action and make that a task on your calendar, at the end of the year, there's all those action files that you never even opened.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so sometimes people realize, our clients realize that they've got a lot of actions, which to us are projects, right? They have a lot of actions by project, not the one-off actions, but the actions by project. They have a lot of those. And if they're not touching them, there's no next action, then it's probably a reference. It's probably something that just needs to be in reference for future reference. So think about that. If you've got open projects, then you really look at them and make sure you've got a next action for each one. So Eds, if you'll post lesscluttermorelife.com, that leads you to a 12-minute video, not a 2-hour webinar. 12-minute video. Go check that out. Hey, Christine. Yeah, so that's the link. So that 12-minute video, that doesn't show the scoreboard, but it leads to the next step that we'll show you the scoreboard and give you, there's a workshop that we just did. So you can join that workshop and it will do a demo for you on how we use it and how you can get the template for it. So it's been pretty, like I said, it's life. It can be life-changing because if nothing else, it puts everything in one place and you can actually focus and see what your next actions are. So you've got your inbox, which can include tasks, next actions for a project. It could include an idea, Barbara, all those ideas that you have. If you're not ready to act on them, I hope you've got an ideas bullet in your scoreboard. If you don't, let's add that in your reference, ideas, either reference or action. But anyway, we always like to give you guys a next action, something you can do on here. So even if you don't check out the 12-minute training and doesn't get you to the scoreboard, at least start with something. How can you start creating one central place to at least capture information? So for me, before the scoreboard, I would capture it in my notebook. I know with Demetrius, he captures everything on his phone, on his Apple Notes. So maybe you guys are using Apple Notes or you're using Google Keep or something like that. You want to have one place to capture information. And then to your point earlier, Barbara, then to process it. Don't let it just sit there. Don't let it just stay on that piece of paper or in that notebook or in Google Keep or wherever. Move it to the next, is it something you would need to file for future reference or something you need to act on? Or something you can toss. Maybe you clipped out a quote and you want to save that somewhere. Yeah, Nancy, she said one-off task. One-off task, Nancy, is something that's not related to a project. So I'm going to use you as an example. You have been planning your family reunion for the last several weeks, maybe a couple months, I'm not sure. And it is coming up this week. So Nancy's reunion, Barbara, is this week. She's been working towards this. So Nancy, all of the tasks related to that family reunion, those are tasks related to a project. What's the next action for this project? A one-off task means it's not connected to a project. It's feed the dogs or reply to this email or just a simple task that isn't necessarily related to a project, and it doesn't need to be kept in the context of a project.
It may go into often for me. So a one-off task is just an idea, call this person or research this. It may lead into a project. It may not. It may just be solved. Call the insurance agent and ask about such and such and get the answer and it's done.
Yeah.
But often, I would say the majority of the time, it leads into a project. It either ties into an existing project or it creates a new project.
That's right. Yep, that's right. So a one-off, like it could be, like she said, a phone call or something, and then it's done. So that's what I mean by a one-off task. And so that's what usually ends up on task lists and the long lists that never end. She said, I got it. I have a million of those. You're not the only one, Nancy. But at least now I know Nancy has a sore board. So Nancy, let's get those things in your inbox first. And then the next question. So that's the what. And then it's like, is this an action or a reference? And then if it's an action, the next question is when. And then we drag that over using the tool. We drag that over and put it on when you're going to do it. That's the key. And we'll end with this. That is considered time-based productivity. Okay. We're all familiar with task-based productivity. That's just the lists. That's the lists of things to do. And that is the ongoing, and you prioritize and this and that and whatever. That's what we're all used to. Time-based productivity is asking the question when and then blocking that time. Now, what happens if you don't do it? It's okay. You use what Barbara said. You re-decide. You may say, I'm never going to do this because I keep moving it and I'm moving it and moving it. I'm never going to do it. I'm going to get rid of it. And then, or you say, I didn't get it done today. You look at your calendar. You don't just move it to tomorrow. You look at your calendar and you say, okay, I've got some free space on Friday, and you move it to Friday. So you're very intentional about that. Christine is asking, what about repeating tasks like fitness? Yeah, those will fit into the SOAR board as well. Those are systems, routines, habits. We have a little bullet called systems, routines, and habits. I think I'm saying that right. And you would list the things that, and everybody does this a little bit. You can do this a little bit different in the SOAR board, but you put in the things that are repeatable, that are important to you. And it may not be enough just to list them there. Like, I want to work out every morning. I want to, do food shopping on every Friday. And then I want to do meal planning on Saturday, whatever those things are for you. You can list them in the systems, habits, and routines section. But then you also may need that extra push to say, okay, I need to add this to the time area as well. So I'm going to do it
until it becomes a habit.
Until it becomes a habit. Like for me, I never in a million years thought I would ever say this. Like I'm 55, and for 40 years of those 55 years, I was very inconsistent with exercise, like very inconsistent. But for the last 15 years, I have been working out regularly. I don't need to put that on my SOAR board anymore. It's just like brushing my teeth. So it's part of my lifestyle, walking the dogs. I don't have to I use that as an example a lot, but I really don't have to put that on my list because it is a habit. So if there's a habit you're trying to create, put that in there, and you can add it to each day. You can drag it to the next day, do it, drag it to the next day, do it, drag it to the next day, do it. And then it becomes a habit. And you're like, I don't even need to have this on here anymore. I'm just going to do it. So
I just have to give you one example of a habit I've tried to create. I want to take my shopping bags out of the car into the grocery store. And there's so many times when I get into the grocery store and it's like, oh, I forgot them. So one of the things I started doing was physically walking back out to the car and getting it. And I realized that after I did that a few times, it made the habit. So now most of the time I remember it. So that's an example of creating a system by having a specific way. And that takes us back to that original thing, the title that we used about this, that overwhelmed isn't a time problem. And so that's what we've tried to present to you today.
That's right. It's a system, and you can have multiple little mini systems. Like that's a system now for those bags. That's a mini system she created to help her remember to do that. So we can talk about this all day, you guys, but we are out of time. So we're going to wrap up. Ed, so if you'll put that link up again, lesscluttermorelife.com, that kind of gives you an overview. And also we go a little bit deeper into the file-act-toss system there and how to make those decisions. And then that will lead you to the next step to learn more about the SOAR board. And you can reach out and ask questions as well. So we appreciate you all joining us today. If you're new here, please be sure, if you're watching us on YouTube, and if you're not watching us on YouTube, please make your way over to YouTube so you can like our channel, like this video, share this video with someone else that needs to see it, and then that will help more people, will help spread this good news of organization and productivity to others. So we meet every Tuesday live, unless there's something else going on, and then we're not here live. We restream a previous video, but we're every Tuesday at noon Eastern. And Barbara, it's really like Barbara and I having a conversation over a cup of coffee, and you guys are just hanging out with us. So that's what we love. So if you have something you would like us to talk about that we haven't talked about, let us know. We'd love to hear it. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.